on the way back home, it started to rain and mist, and we were just past the Burt on our way back towards Truro, and we started hydroplaning. And that's when I told Nina, I said, hold on. I was trying to power back out of the hydroplaning fishtail. And I almost got it back, but then having the trailer on board then pulled me back again. It shifted again, and then that's when I was right sideways, and we hit the gravel and shoulder, and that's when we started to flip. And Nina was holding on to Miss Millie as best she could, and on the third flip, Miss Millie got ejected from the passenger window out of the vehicle. When we finished flipping, we flipped 6 times in total, and we landed down in the ditch up on our side. I asked Nina how she is.
He said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I lost the dog." And it was pure panic from that moment on, because I didn't know if she was in the truck, I didn't know if she was under the truck, I didn't know if she was thrown from the truck. We had no idea. And it was just pure panic, instantly.
We had to punch the sunroof out. Nina climbed out, started searching for Millie, then I climbed out and we started searching for Millie.
With Hurricane Fiona bearing down on Nova Scotia, Nina and Matthew's truck rolled over on the side of a notoriously dangerous part of a Nova Scotia highway. In a state of shock, first on their mind wasn't their own injuries or even their wrecked truck. It was their young puppy. Tell me who this is first.
This here?
Yeah.
This is a lovable Miss Millie. Yep.
How did you end up with Millie?
Well, we were looking for a bulldog. The baby girls, our daughters, wanted another animal because their baby bulldog passed away. They always had a bulldog in their life. And after a while of searching, Nina found Miss Millie. There was an ad online, and just looked at her face, and we're like, oh, that was it. She reminds me a lot of my first bulldog, which was Mr. Magoo. And yeah.
So what is it about bulldogs?
Personality.
Yeah?
They're not dogs. Anything a dog is, bulldogs are not. And they own their human. And that's the best part about them, right? And whenever you're having a bad day, you just look in their face. Yeah. And they make your day better.
Panicked on the side of the road, friends started to arrive to help find Miss Millie. Drones and searchers appeared. But on Facebook, something else was happening. A certified lost pet investigator was being called into action. When I heard that there are people that search for lost dogs as a profession, like do it professionally, I think of the movie Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yeah.
And then I can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more than that. So how does one get involved?
Right. So, first of all, I was raised on a farm. So I love anything with a heartbeat, every animal. So I had taken a course. It's through Marn, and there's her name is Kat, and she offers the course. It's around 10-week course, and then you become certified, and then your boots on the ground, and you go from there.
There aren't many certified people around, are
There's
there?
not, no.
Like, this is something I didn't even know existed until a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
We got back on the site at 3 a.m. and Nikki was messaging us first thing in the morning. She said she woke up to multiple messages saying that this puppy had been missing and we needed help to find her. And she said, I got to get my kids to school and I'm going to come on site and I'm going to help you find her. See? So she showed up later that afternoon. We had Steve on site who had helped us with the drones, and Nikki showed up and told us she wasn't leaving until she found our puppy. And a lot of us had doubt that she was going to or that we would, and yeah, she didn't leave until she was back with us.
Millie was thrown out of a car,
Yeah.
which would have been traumatizing right off the bat, I would think,
Oh,
for the
definitely.
dog. How did you go about looking for Millie?
I went to bed early that evening, and I typically don't. I usually go to bed around 10:30. For some reason, I went to bed really early that evening, and I heard my phone ding, 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 and I'm like, oh God, no, that'll wait till tomorrow. But it kept going off, so I finally picked it up, and I had all of these messages coming through with regards to a dog that was ejected down the Truro way, and if I could help. And so I'm looking to see, okay, now where is the owner? Because I knew that the owners would be there. I mean, they never leave.
Yeah.
You know, they think, okay, we need. I didn't know at this point whether the owners were okay. I did speak to the Onslow Fire Department, and finally, Matthew and I were able to connect. And of course, they were in with their flashlights in the woods and doing everything as, you know, they thought would, right. So I just told them to leave the woods until I get there, and if they want to sit there, they can. And I told them the reasons why until I got there, and I left early the next morning and met them.
I had friends of mine offer to bring their hunting dogs up. I had a friend of mine who showed up, and he went door to door in the back. His name was Luke, asking and just making locals aware of it. And then when friends of mine come to me with this girl Nikki Marie, and she does professional. I'm going, okay, professional dog hunter. Okay, yeah. At first I was picturing someone gonna show up and they're gonna do like, okay, the spirits are telling me it's this way or something, right?
You were looking for like a water diviner or something, right?
Yeah, a water witch, right?
Yeah.
Or something, right? And she showed up and she was beyond professional, and she was calming. The whole time Nina was talking to her on the phone, she was very confident in her approach. She was confident in the situation. She understood exactly the scenario and what we were going through at that time. And then when she showed up, she was very structured. And so yeah, there's a total difference between someone just showing up and helping you look and Nikki Marie.
You actually help people find their lost pets.
I do.
How does that make you feel?
It's really rewarding. It really is. Like it's you know, dogs are people's children. Right?
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, the panic that they feel when they lose their pet, and, you know, to try to calm everybody down and explain the process along the way, you know, it's really tough for people to understand the steps that are involved, because it's a lot of work. Mentally, physically, emotionally, it's a lot of work.
You don't just look for dogs.
No, I do cats. Believe it or not, there's been pig calls. We've had some loose pot-belly pigs. I got called on a cow. Yeah, there's
Missing cow.
a missing cow.
That must
yeah.
have been an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, they ended up getting it without me going down.
Okay.
They did phone me about that. So,
Is looking for a cat or a pig different than a dog?
cats are a lot easier.
Are they?
So if it's an indoor cat, the cat's going to stay very, very close. Chances are it's to your neighbor, left or right, or just down the road a little bit. They will not go far.
How did it feel for those couple of days not?
Oh, terrible. It was, well, we have 3 little girls between us who we knew had to have their dog back, and ourselves as well. We didn't know if she was alive. We didn't know if something had happened to her, if she was injured, if she needed help. Thoughts start going through your mind, like, when was the last time I fed her? When was the last time she had water? Like, how much longer can she last on those regards? And it's just, you just don't know what to do. You don't know what to think. So many emotions go through, and it's just, we couldn't rest until we found her. So.
Did you think you'd ever find her again?
There was moments where I had doubts. Definitely. We had so many friends on Facebook reaching out, and we couldn't even read the messages because people said, you know, I know today's the day you're going to find your dog, and you want to believe it, but it's hard. 36 hours is a long time to not know where she is and not know what she's doing.
My dog gets out and been a number of hours, maybe it's been overnight. I don't know how long people would wait, but what happens?
So the first thing I would ask you is, how did the dog go missing? So if the dog just went, you know, out of the gate and chased a squirrel or a bunny rabbit, then the dog went on an adventure. So you have typically maybe 2 days before that dog, the brain, the high cortisol will make the dog switch into flight or fight mode. So you have 2 days that the dog will remember who you are and your voice. So it's important for me to know, that's the first question I'll ask you. There's been many cases where people just don't know. They leave their dog out to use the washroom and all of a sudden the dog never came back. And so I always tell people right from the get-go, we're going to assume that your dog is in flight or fight mode right away, because we don't know what happened to the dog overnight. Did the dog get almost hit by a vehicle? Was the dog chased by something? So it's better for owners to just understand that right from the get-go.
I'm going to guess that Millie is not a hunting dog, is not a big outdoors.
She identifies as a house hippo.
As a house hippo. Yeah, right. Many Canadians will be familiar with that.
Right? That commercial.
That's right. So did that give you a little bit more concern than say like, I mean, because someone who had like a dog that's always out in the woods hunting might have some different skills than, I'm guessing Millie isn't used to seeing black bears and wolves and coyotes. And
No, there was no couch under her butt, and there was no heated bed or filtered water. So yeah, it really wasn't.
Or chair, or armchair.
Or a little lazy boy, right?
She's not a wilderness. She's not a survival dog. And Nikki kept saying, you know, don't discourage, don't have doubts about her. It doesn't matter what kind of dog. And I said, I don't know if you met this dog. She's a house pig. Like she doesn't really. I don't know if she'll know how to survive out there.
On top of that, her nose is this long versus a dog, and I know that the longer the nose is, the better they are for smelling and detecting things. So
they're not known for this breed is not known for their ability to scent detect.
I've thrown like a piece of raw hamburger at her and it's bounced off her face. So she's seen it and then she's stepping on it while she's looking for it. So I know the nose doesn't really work that well. Throughout that process, we were getting images on the webcams that Nikki set up that had black bears showing up around the track. Then there was wolves and foxes, not wolves, so coyotes and foxes.
So you were a little worried.
Oh yeah, well as soon as the black bear showed up on the camera, that's when, okay, let's go back to site, and Nikki and Nina run into the woods to scare the black bear away. It was quite the ordeal for us, and I'm sure for Miss Millie.
A dog like an Aussie is probably a little more comfortable in the woods, well, unless they spend all their time at home, I guess, but versus, say, a bulldog or maybe even a poodle, right? Is there a difference in how you would approach that?
And that's a great question, because that's another question I ask, is what is the temperament of your dog? If your dog is skittish, your dog will travel further out.
Oh, really?
If your dog is friendly, your dog will likely be caught faster.
Interesting.
Depending if the dog went on an adventure. If a friendly dog took off because of fireworks or gunshots or thunder and lightning, the dog is already in flight for fight mode. So it just really depends. Exactly.
Our first instinct was get as many people in the woods, start yelling, start looking for her, start shaking things, do all these things, and you're not supposed to do any of that. You're supposed to leave the woods, you're supposed to have it silent so that the dog doesn't deter and run further, which she would have. You just lay down your clothing, you lay down some personal items. Nikki had put a trap for her, which is how she catches a lot of dogs, actually. Millie took off too far. But yeah, just do basically the exact opposite of what you expect to do. You just have to wait.
My initial thought would have been you run into the woods yelling the dog's name and making noise, but that's the wrong thing to do, isn't it?
It is absolutely the worst thing you can do. We never, ever, first of all, we need to stay out of the woods. So any quick movement or any noise is enough to trigger the dog, and then the dog takes off. And a dog can run 3 kilometers an hour a day. Okay? So, that's the first thing that people think, well, oh my God, they panic and they go into the woods and they gather all of these people and they're whistling and they're clapping and they're yelling the dog's name. That's just as bad as chasing a dog, because the dog, you will push that dog out. The dog will not come to you.
Tell me about your relationship with Nikki during that.
Oh, it was just like having a sister. Like, she called herself Auntie Nikki to our kids now. She was amazing. It was just like having your best friend there. I'd never met this woman before, and she was not leaving my side. She'd message me and she'd say, this is what we have to do. How are you? Like, any questions I had, any concerns, if I had doubt, she was there to reach out and say, no, you don't get to have doubt. We're finding this dog. We're not leaving until we do. And she was right.
Well, there was Todd, the Border Collie. Border Collie is very fast. You can hear them before you see them. There was a fire in Cole Harbour, and the owner had taken Todd to Waverley. And because of the fire and that situation, the dog was totally distraught. Took off from Waverley. That dog went from Waverley to Bedford to Lower Sackville to the airport to Timberley, back to Bedford, all over Bedford, and then settled down where True North Diner is, in the Bedford Highway. So tracked that dog for the whole summer. It took 4 months just to watch Todd and watch his moves. We ended up putting a missy trap up in behind True North Diner, and every Tuesday the dog would go there it was wing night. And their green bins were overflowing, and the smell, right? So we put up a missy trap there and finally caught him. So he was healthy, took him to the vet, and he's doing really good even today. And then there was another case with Jasper. He went missing from a kennel that was looking after him when the parents the owners went to Prince Edward Island. Everybody, because he was a puppy, everybody in 9 Mile River was out looking for this dog, leaving food out on their properties, chasing the dog. Well, exactly 9 months later, I trapped Jasper down in Inverness. So the dog had traveled 345 to 55 kilometers later.
That's a long way.
And we caught him in the winter.
Across the causeway in the whole bit.
He crossed the causeway. When I found him, he had 2 snares embedded in his neck.
We put all the stuff around, or they put the stuff around, Nikki and Nina, and then we just had to sit and wait and wait and wait. And it was a long 2 days. But eventually, with the help of Facebook and all the friends and everybody sharing everything, and we got a call from Ashley's friend saying that his friend Ashley had this baby bulldog in his yard. And so we asked like what color, and his friend said, I don't know, but here's the address. And so we went there, and as soon as we pulled in, we seen Millie's face. Well, Nina almost jumped out of the car before I could even stop it.
Oh, I jumped out of the car while it was still running, which I should have done. But when we got that call, because we had a couple other people reach out, we had some scammers reach out on Facebook saying that, we found your dog, and if you give me X amount of money, then we'll give her back. We had an older gentleman call who thought he found her, but it was somebody else's dog. So when we got that call, I said, Matt, stop the car, and I was saying, are you sure it's a bulldog puppy and this is what she looks like? He said, yeah, it's the dog that I seen on Facebook. Definitely, that's the dog. And I said, okay, well, tell him not to chase her, tell him not to, because I'm trying to explain all the things that Nikki told me to do without panicking too much. And when I seen her, I said, oh my God, Matt, it's Millie. Like, she's there, and she was jumping and she was playing with Ash, and it was just like nothing had happened. She was a little muddy, and she was just another day in the life of.
When we got down on the ground, Millie come flying over. You wouldn't be able to tell if she had any white on her because she was covered from head to toe in just dirt and mud and everything else.
The both of us just dropped to the ground and just started crying because it was just a flood of so many emotions that we didn't have to go home without her. We didn't have to tell our girls that something bad had happened. We were able to tell her a good story, and we were able to tell them, Millie had a nice adventure, but she's home with us now, rather than the alternative, which is what we expected.
You told me what the reaction of you and Nina was. What was the reaction of Millie?
Oh, she could barely stand. She was shaking her butt and shaking her chest and shaking, just wiggling, because for some reason she has no tail. It's like a little pigtail, like a Cyril Sneer off of the raccoons. And so she got nothing to wag. So she wags her butt and she does her little shake. And yeah, she was for about half an hour, constantly shaking and wiggling and shaking, wiggling, shaking and wiggling, and then after that it was sleep time.
There you go. It all just went back to normal.
That was exertion right there.
Miss Millie's had an impact beyond the hearts of those who searched for her. That notorious stretch of highway, now after years of accidents, has a guardrail. Oh, and a name.
And to understand, there's the guardrails up already.
Wow.
And so then they
Millie has made the road a little safer.
Millie has made the road a little safer, and to identify that area, it's being referred to as Millie's Mile, because that's where she was about a mile away. So the happy little pup made different for everybody. Right? There's been numerous amounts of accidents on that corner, so due to her little story, maybe less injuries for people in the future.
How's she been since she got home? I mean,
Like
she
this.
looks pretty happy. So. Like, I would never know that.
Yeah, that she flew out a window doing 110. No, she never had a mark on her. We took her to the vet that evening when we got her back, and they looked her over from one end to another, and she was totally fine. We gave her better care than we gave ourselves. Then after that, we took her to the spa and get her all tuned up. She's a pampered pooch.
You know, it always comes up, what do you charge? And I don't charge anything.
Really?
No, I do not. I
So
don't.
I didn't ask that because I just assumed that
No.
you charge for this.
No. What I will do.
You had a huge investment in equipment.
Yeah.
And
I know in our loss recovery technician world, people will charge for mileage and stuff like that, gas. If I have to travel a long distance, I will say, of course, if you want to cover my gas, there's some people that they just can't. So, it's case by case.
Well, Nikki, I really want to say thank you. Thank you from me, from Nina, from Liliana, from Sienna, from Addie, and from Miss Millie. Because everything you did was awesome. The support you gave, the calming, the professionalism, it was awesome. And we owe you a major thank you, and then some. I think you're part of our family now, just so you know.
It's emotional. There's a lot of times I cry. Yeah.
She's quite a well-known pooch. So we took her around to say thank you to everyone, right? It was a feel-good story that I think Nova Scotians needed, and everyone was emotionally invested in it.
well, it did kind of take off on social media too.
Yeah, some of the algorithms were showing over 20,000 shares, right? And it had a great outcome. So that was the best part of it.